Hey guys, in today's video I'm going to show you how to set up a enemy AI along with some collisions with the walls and for the score keeps. And if we hit play, our player moves with it. That was a short little game, but if we hit play, we can move our player up and down. We have our enemy AI moving along with the ball. Super hard to beat right now just because how we have it set up, but we, as you can see now, is our player can't go outside the walls and neither can our AI. When the ball gets outside the game itself, it destroys the ball itself. So yeah, I'll see y'all in there. Okay, so if we start playing our Pong game, we've got the ball moving. It'll move across the screen. It kind of falls off. We can fix that. It's a small little fix. What we need now is we need an opponent, and then also we need to fix our paddle itself. As you can see, we can still kind of go through the wall. So let's tackle the wall first, and then we'll add in an enemy. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to our content browser. We're going to find our BP player. And right now what we want to do is we want to take our mouse Y that we're multiplying by our speed variable, and we're going to clamp this, and we'll just do a clamp, if I can type right, clamp float, and then we'll add this into our delta X, and then these min and max values, we're going to promote those to a variable. So we'll promote this one to a variable, and we'll say min move, and then we'll promote this one to a max move. We'll set our max to 100. My bad. Now if we hit play, now we can move, but we can only move in the forward position. We can't move in a negative position. And reason being is because we got to set this, our min value, to negative 100. And now we can move back and forth between them both. So what we're going to do is we're going to create an overlap event saying that whenever our player, whenever he hits this box here, we're going to set the value of our min move. We're going to make it to where you can't go further, any further this way. So we'll set it to 0 up here, and we'll leave the max at 100, and then vice versa down here. We'll do, we'll set the max to 100 here, and then for the max move, and then we'll leave the min alone to where they can move forward on the overlap event. So what we need for here is we're going to create some box collisions. So we'll go back to our content browser. Open up BP wall, and inside the viewport, make sure you're on the viewport. Underneath our cube, actually let's do it underneath static mesh. We'll add in a box collision, and we'll just call it collision. And then we need to resize this. So hit compile, and then we'll make it just a little bit bigger than what it already is. It doesn't have to be very much. That looks fairly good. Hit compile there. And then now if you go back, you can see that our collision is pretty much set. I'm not really too worried about the collision back here. You can, if you want to, you can make these a little bit smaller inside here, inside your BP wall. So you would take let's see how the orientation set up. So you would take the Y, and we'll do, you can take the Y value, the scale, and you can lower it back down to about here. Let's see what that looks like. And then make it smaller. It all depends on if that's what you want. It really doesn't bother me because, like I said, we're not going to be using this portion out here. The only thing we really want is we want this. And this is not a very big game, so I'm not worried about performance or anything, about it hindering performance. Like I said, the only thing I want is here. I may end up adjusting this once we start playing the game, just because I don't want a whole lot of gappage in between here and the wall itself for the player. But other than that, right now that looks pretty good. So let's go ahead and go back to our content browser. We're gonna do the same thing for our BP wall 2. Click on static mesh, add component, box collision. Click compile. And now you could use the collision that's already set up for the box itself. The only downfall is right now on the box is we're using that collision for our bounty material. And like I said, you could use it to do a on collision event. If you scroll all the way down to here, you could do, you know, on component event overlap. But it's easier, in my opinion, it's easier just to go ahead and just have this extra box collision, just for keeping everything separate, because you don't want to mix match any of this stuff. So we'll rescale this. Pick it up. There we go. For some reason, it didn't want to let me use the shortcut keys, which is fine. And then we'll go ahead and set the Y to the same as we did the other one. I think it was 1.25, which is fine. Then we'll hit compile. Go over here, check it. That's a little too short. So go back to here. We will just set this to here. I think it's 1.5. Looks a little bit better. Compile. Okay, we'll just set it there. 1.72. Actually, we can make it a little bit even. 1.75, and then yeah. Okay. What is this one set at? 1.5. Let's do 1.75, just so they're both even. That's a little bit of OCD kicking in. All right, now they're both the same. So now we got our wall collision set up. And basically what we want to do is whenever our player collides with this one, we're going to set the min value. And then whenever it collides with this one, we'll set the max value. Okay. So open up let's go to BP wall. This is 2, BP wall 2. Go to event graph. And on collision, we want to scroll down and find where it says on and begin overlap. Collision. And this is where we have to create our function. So basically what we want to do inside of our BP player is we want to set a function that's going to allow us to manipulate these. So if you go over to where it says functions, we're going to click add new function, and we'll say change move direction. And basically all we're going to do is we're going to take our min and we're going to set it, and we're going to take our max and we'll set this one also. And then we'll plug these into here. And what this is going to allow us to do is it's going to allow us to call this function in different areas. That way we can set these values from another script, and we won't have to call all these values at once. If that makes sense. So let me finish straightening these up. A little OCD kicking in. So basically what it is we'll go back to BP wall 2, and on other actor, we're going to say cast to BP player. And we cast a BP player, and then off BP player, all we got to do is call our change move direction. Click compile. And then we also need our begin end overlap, meaning when the player moves away. And we'll do the same thing. Cast to BP player. and then change move direction. Our max move to 100. It's saying whenever it collides with this, it's setting the min value to 0, which the min is how much it can move this way. So it can't move any further this way, as opposed to, you know, moving back this way. It can only move back this way, if that makes sense. So we'll set that to 0. And then this is on begin overlap. And then on end overlap, we'll set this back to its normal thing. We'll set this back to 100. Click compile save, and then go back to here, hit play. And now when we hit it, you can't go any further down this way. And we're just going to do the same thing on this one up here to where we can't move any further this way. Okay. So go to our BP wall and then find our collision. Make sure you have your collision selected, and we need our begin, and we also need our end overlap, and we're going to basically, actually, we're going to be doing the exact same thing. So do a cast 2 BP player, and you can always just copy and paste. It might be a little bit faster for you, but if you are beginning, like if you're a beginner, I do encourage that you take the time to, you know, type all this stuff out, connect all the little nodes, because it's the little things that helps it concrete inside your brain. I mean, it's super simple just to copy paste and not think about it, but it's better for you to go through the motion, because then you got to kind of put those connections together. So do the same thing here. We'll do cast 2 BP player, and then we'll go to here, change move direction. Okay, let's straighten all this up just because my OCD kicks in, and I like to make sure I have everything set straight. Okay, and like I said, it's basically going to be the exact opposite of what we just did. So whenever the player is up here, we don't want to be able to move any further up. So if you click on your ball again, watch the X value. When we move forward, it's moving in the positive direction. So we have to clamp that to where it says you can't move any further past this. So go back to our BP wall. We'll leave the max at 0. We'll set the min at -1 or -100, not -1. And then once he moves away from the wall, we'll set everything back to the way it was. And now if we hit play, you can see that we can't move any further up there and down here. So so that should be working a lot better. Okay. Even looks pretty good too. I do feel like he is kind of going inside there, but it'd be fun. This is just a prototype. So, all right. Now what we need is an opponent to play with. We need somebody, you know, or something, an AI that can, you know, we can play against and kind of do this. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to go to content browser, and we're going to copy this. I know I just said, you know, you don't do that, but we're going to copy this, and we're going to call this BP. Let's do enemy player. Open this up, and we're not going to need any of this. So let's delete that. And basically what we want our enemy to be able to do is we want him to follow the ball. So wherever the ball goes, he kind of goes with it. So we'll have to get a reference to our ball. So okay, so inside of our BP enemy player event graph, so off here we're going to say get actor of class, and then we want our BP ball, and then from our BP ball we want to get sphere, which is going to be in our default. You may have to start typing default after that, and then after that we want to get our relative, there it is, get relative location. And then we'll promote this to a variable. We'll call this enemy move direction. And then we'll set this. And basically what we want is, the reason why we want the relative direction is because if you look in here, and if you move this away from, no, it won't. Hang on, let's go to the ball. The ball will be a little bit better because I think we still have the, yeah, we do. Okay, so looking at the ball, if you click on it, we're on the sphere, if you move this and you go back to our level 1, you can see that it's moved our ball away from this default scene root. And this default scene root will give us our world location, where it's at as far as it is in the world. And that's not what we're wanting. We're wanting the relative location, which is going to be this location, where this is at all times. Because when spawned, this is not going to move. This will move here. This won't move. So we want to get our relative location on the x-axis. Okay, so we'll set that back. Don't forget to set that back. Be sure you please set that back if you followed along with me. We'll just do it this way. Be a lot easier. Click compile, go to here. That will set back here in a second. Okay. And then now we need to go to our event graph. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to create a custom event. We'll call this change move direction. Why is there an error? Let's do change direction. Oh, because I've already got to move direction. Okay, we'll do a change direction. And it's because I had a function set up, change direction for the player, which is fine. It's no big deal. Okay. Go back to our event graph. And then inside of our change direction, Unreal provides a very useful tool called Move To. This is for programming AI. And so we want to get our enemy, or not our enemy, we want to get our ball's location. And we'll split this struct. And then we'll split this struct. And we got to have our cube. The reference to our cube. That's the component we're going to be moving. And we're only going to manipulate the x-axis. So if we go back to here and we go to play, it's not moving. Why is it not moving? It's because we didn't call it. You do have to call this function. So change direction right there. Click compile. Hit play, and it is moving fairly well, actually. The only downfall is if we do that and we let it go, it's going to continuously follow the ball. So same thing as we did with the player, we're going to have to clamp the direction that it can move. So if you go back to the editor level and we have it set to 0, it can move 380 in the positive, and it can move 270, 260. Let's do 260. It can move 260 in the negative. So once again, we'll come off here. If you know how to do this, you can do this as a little test for yourself. See if you can't figure out how to clamp the direction that we want it to move. And I'll give you a second to do that before I do it. Okay, hopefully you did that. And so we'll do clamp float. We'll plug this into here. And our min was negative 260. And the max it can move is 380. Click compile again. Now we hit play. Oh, it worked. Click compile. Oh, I know why. It's because I I didn't set it back. You do have to set it back to 0 if you want this to work correctly. Set that back to 0. And now if we hit play, it can only move so far in that direction, moves so far in this direction. It's constantly chasing it. Very good, very well. It kind of looks like it's a little programmatic, but it's fine for now. Let's double check that. That might not have been. I'm going to go ahead and do 400. We'll just go ahead and do 400. So I'll set this to 400. Click compile. Set this back to 0. Oh, I see. I'm gonna hit play real quick. Actually, I'm gonna hit play, and I want you to take notice of what's going on right here. This is where our ball, our world location's at, and then this is our relative location. So I'm gonna hit play, and as you can see, it's following. I wonder if I could get this to pause, and then I click on this, it's following the relative location, but since we don't have this squared up, meaning, you know, we didn't have it set back to 0. Since we don't have this set back to 0, it's working, but it's not working as good as we want it to. So you can see we're setting our relative location relative to this, and this is the world location. This is where it's at in the world, as opposed to where it's at, you know, relatively. So we'll exit out of that, and I'm gonna set this back. Set this back to 0. I may have to. There we go. Okay, now let's play it. Moving a lot better. That looks a lot better. There we go. Okay. Hopefully though, you kind of get a little bit more understanding of between relative and world location. Okay. So we've got that set up. It's calling that. We want to be able to manipulate how fast it moves. So this will be our overtime interpolation. So we'll set this to a variable. Remote to variable. And then move speed. Yeah, let's do move speed over time. I know it's a long variable, and it's going to be public. That way we can see it. And basically, what that's going to allow us to do is, if you click on your player here, we can manipulate this. We're going to set it to 0.1, and you'll notice that he gets a little bit slower if we set it to 0.1. So let's set it up to 0.05. It's a little bit faster, but it's kind of choppy, as it is constantly, and I mean constantly changing. Boom, boom. So I think 1 was fairly decent. Let's go with let's just do 0.1. Click play. I do like that. It is smooth. It's moving fairly decently. I don't see any problems with it. Okay. I do notice though that on our ball, it kind of feels like we're losing speed. So what we'll do is we'll go to linear dampening. We're going to set that to 0. We don't want anything. Basically what dampening is, it's the engine itself trying to manipulate physics around the ball. Basically wind. That's what I'm trying to get at. So as the ball moves, you know, it's got some sort of wind coming against it, some fake wind. Now I hit play. Now we're not going to lose any speed. It's going to keep the same momentum at all times. There we go. Okay. Another thing that we had going on is, inside of our ball, we have it setting to simulate physics, but we don't want it to fall off the game. So basically, we're going to set the constraint. We're going to lock the position on the Z-axis to where it can't move up and down. So if it goes off the board, it don't just fall off the world. And lastly, what we need for this video is we need a way to basically destroy the ball. once it gets out of the playing area on this side and this side, we want to be able to destroy the ball. So we'll need to set up some collision there. Okay, to set up our basically our collision to calculate when our ball is outside of the playing area for the score, basically, we're going to go back to our content browser and we'll create a new blueprint class of actor. And we'll call this our BP underscore, let's call it a goalie. I really don't know what else to call it. No, let's not call it goalie. Let's call it goal side 1. And then inside here, we're going to add another box collision, not box, but box collision, and we'll set that there. Click compile, and then we need to drag in our box collision inside our playing area. Set it here. That was a terrible place to set it, but that's fine. You can always move it around. And then we'll resize it on the X and on the Z. It doesn't have to be really tall like that, but I mean, it's fine. And then what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate this. And instead of side 1, it's going to be side 2. And on side 2, we'll drag this in here. We'll do the exact same thing, but this time for the enemy side or the AI side. I think AI sounds better than enemy, but it all depends on what type of game you're building. And then once again, we'll do the same thing. We'll just scale it in the X, and then also scale it in the Z a little bit. Doesn't have to be very much. Doesn't have to be that much. Just enough to cover it in. And there we go. And basically what we want to do is we want to say anytime anything gets inside here, we want to destroy that actor. So if we go back to, let's go to our goal side 1, and make sure you have your collision selected, our box collision. On begin overlap, we basically want to cast to BP ball, and once we have that, we're going to say destroy actor. Hit compile save, and then click play. Let it go, and there it goes. No longer is there a ball, which is fine. That's what we wanted. Whoa, now we got all kinds of warnings popping up, but that's fine. And the only reason why we have these warnings is basically inside of our BP player is it's trying to access this, and it says, hey, there's no ball, 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 over and over and over again, which is fine. And the easiest way to fix this is we'll just drag off from here and we'll say is valid. And basically what this is going to say is it's going to check, is this valid? And it's going to say, is what valid? Is our ball valid? Yes, it's valid. And if it is valid, then it'll run this entire function. So if we click play again, we'll move our paddle out of the way. It went away. We'll wait a couple seconds, and then we'll exit out of the game, and we no longer have those errors. It's always a good thing to fix your errors like as they pop up. That way you don't forget about them, or you forget why they're there. It's a simple fix. Like I said, it's nothing major. But now we got to do the same thing to the other side. So we go back to our content. We're going to open up this one. This is our enemy side, or our side basically. Go to the box, and on begin overlap, we'll do the same thing. cast to BP ball, straighten link, and then on here we want to destroy actor. Click compile, click play. We'll make sure it works. See if we can't get it over there, get it past our player, which he's not moving right now at this moment, which is fine. Boom. Okay, so now we run into another problem. Since we fixed one problem, of course there's gonna be another problem. And basically what it is, it's got to do with our, is it valid? And the only reason why I know it is because I didn't put an object. So we need to, is this valid? If this is valid, then we'll get this actor of top class. Like play, everything's moving, everything's working. He automatically goes back to 0. That's another fix. We still get our errors. That's fine. We can always fix these. And BP enemy player, set move direction. Okay, so we need to move. We need to move this to here. That was my fault. We're casting to this, and then before we execute anything, after we cast to this, we're gonna do an is valid check. Like I said, that is my fault. You can always just plug this into here. Click compile. Now if we hit play, everything's moving. Ball goes away. Wait a few seconds. No error. Okay. Good. Good deal. So basically what we have now is we have a way for our player to move. We have the ball disappearing, and we have the enemy set up. In the next video, what we'll be doing is we'll be setting up a score counter, possibly right here and here. I don't know exactly where we're going to put them yet, but that way we can keep track of the score, and we'll set up some parameters saying, you know, first player to 5 wins or first player to 3 wins or whichever. We'll also set up our main menu and get this game out and ready. All right, guys, be sure you hit that like and subscribe button down below. If you have any questions, be sure you leave them in the comments, or if you want to, there's a Discord. That link is in the channel also, in the channel descriptions, my bad. Like I said, make sure you like and subscribe the video, and I'll see y'all next time.